Hey everybody, it's Miss Adine. Today me and Orange are making the second page to my backstory for my superhero. Uh, you can see I had a hard time with the compass. I'm not really good at things like that with my left hand. And Orange was, very helpful. So here I'm just coloring splotchy blue for where the water is when you're looking from Earth in the outer space. It's not going to be correct. I'm just sort of winging it. Now let's see where my land masses are. Yep, some nice big land masses. If my continents aren't right, we'll just pretend they are. Some darker looking water. So it would be such a beautiful thing to actually look down and see the Earth from outer space. Maybe you can get a ticket on the next space shuttle. So I think there's some really dark that you can see from outer, the deeper oceans you can see as darker blue. At least I always assume that's what that is. I've seen that picture a bunch. Orange needs a little bit of love. He's such a nice kitty cat. He likes to rub his cheek on the camera, and sometimes he moves it a little bit, but most of the time he doesn't. Now he's just sitting back down to look. He has such nice long whiskers. So just for this blue background, I'm using as many blues as I have, and I'm going over back and forth and making them darker and layering them and trying to blend them. Because even something that's solid blue isn't necessarily one blue and might take longer than you think. So here I'm just adding a little bit of like green scribble to give it some texture, and adding another green and blending it a little bit. And here I'm using a gel pen right on top. I love the way gel pen sort of sits on top of all other markers. And it adds a little bit of shine and a little bit more texture. Orange wants to play. So I have a scrap paper behind and I can test a color, and I leave it behind so that when I'm working on one page it doesn't blend through to the other, because sometimes these markers do. So here I'm adding sort of white. It could be waves in the ocean, texture on the ground. And I'm just working it in and adding them. And now to start my background sky. So I'm using a much darker blue. It's almost like an ultraviolet. And I'm going back and forth. I'm going to really work this. This is what takes the longest. I wish I had like really wide markers. So I go as fast as I can, and when I get close to the, my line, I slow down. You can see that I'm much slower there. If I was to go fast, I'd go right over it. I still don't have the control over my left hand that I once had over my right. It's not that noticeable that I'm not a left-handed person naturally. I've been a left-handed person since Valentine's Day, the day that I cut my hand. So from now on, I'm a left-handy, and it looks pretty decent for that. So this is the page I'm working on today, and since it's so big, this blue takes a long time. Had I made it smaller, I would have been done, but I wanted it to be one large page so I could just sort of have, when you're reading it, have a rest for your eyes instead of a million little boxes. It goes from, medium-sized boxes to larger boxes and smaller boxes. And I wanted to show in this, or I'm going to show in this, that there's a lot of those, glow-in-the-dark worms, those outer space sea slugs. Yeah, outer space slugs that are like going to be flying through space, and some of which are going to land on Earth. And that way I can show you where they land and how they're going to help mutate different things. And I'm going to focus on one thing they land on, which is going to be my superhero. But because they can land on so many different things, I'm leaving myself an opening to make other characters that come from the same explosion in space. So that's why I wanted such a big area of blue. So as I layer it, you can see, I'm putting dark over the light. And I'm just sort of blending it in. And as these markers dry, they look a little bit lighter. But I do like going over and over and over my markers, making sure I get as much of the white out as I can, and making it look like an interesting background versus like too scribbly or too smooth. And I know that a lot of pictures of like looking at Earth from outer space, it's like really dark and black, but I didn't want to use any black. I wanted to keep it in blues. And I don't think that's accurate, but it's aesthetically pleasing to me. Also, I wanted to bring up that I've been asked for some optical illusion art, and I will do that next week when I'm done with my backstory. So I like the way this looks when you layer the blues and you go over any little white areas. I'm sure I'm going to have some left no matter what. But I might see if I can find some like really big Sharpie or something. A really wide marker. And here's my slugs. So on this is a paint marker that I'm using because I really wanted it to stand out. And you can see all these space slugs flying through outer space, heading towards Earth. The explosion has propelled them really far away. Foreign life form, not carbon based. You can see they've landed on the different continents and in the water. Now, it's harder to see in the camera than it is up close. Hopefully I zoom in at some point so you can see. And here's that orange, because all of them are pink and orange, like glowy pink and orange. And it's those colors that of like radiation and glowing that are gonna be seen in every superhero that gets powers from them, so they can recognize each other as somewhat being related from another planet. Because without a doubt, they're going to have mixed genes. They're going to be part from Earth and part from somewhere far, far away. Just add a little bit more finishing touches to my worms, make sure they really stand out. And that's just about it. I hope you really like it. I hope you go off and have an amazing creative day and do something fun for yourself. And if you like the button, if you like my video, hit the subscribe button and tell me what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Oh, I forgot my stars.